Good afternoon and welcome to State of the Arts NYC. This is your host, Savannah Bailey McLean. And joining us in the studio, we have Judy Yin Chi Lee, Chief Program Officer for Maestra Incorporated. And we also have Carrie Caffrey, who's also the Director of Operations and Events for Maestra. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here.
I am too. We love this new studio that we're in. Isn't it great?
It's beautiful.
It's so
Fabulous.
beautiful.
We're in the Hudson Yards area and we're very happy to be here. So let's get started. Now, tell us a little bit about Maestra.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maestro Music is an organization that provides support, visibility, and community to the women and non-binary people who make the music in the music theater industry.
Mm-hmm.
Our membership is made up of composers, music directors, orchestrators, arrangers, any musician jobs that you can think of in the musical theater industry. That's who we serve.
Mm-hmm.
We've been around since 2019. We incorporated in 2019.
A fairly young organization.
Mm-hmm.
Very young, very
Okay.
young. And majority of our growth happened during the pandemic.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
Yeah, things started, I think, back in 2017. The story we like to tell is our founder, Georgia Stitt, who's a music director, a composer, and an activist. Back in 2017, she was music directing for an off Broadway production of Sweet Charity and was asked to put together an all female band for the show. And she realized very quickly that she didn't know how. And that when she called her like 5 or 6 contacts, if someone wasn't available, she didn't have a backup. And so she started this Google spreadsheet basically back in 2017 of women in the industry she knew. And that just sort of grew over the next 2 years until by 2019, it had become this like full-fledged resource that people really wanted publicly. And it turned into the Maestra Directory, which was the sort of first program of Maestra and exists in order to publicly free give female and non-binary musicians and music makers on Broadway visibility in the community.
See, that's what really caught my attention about your organization, that you're really trying to help women. And the fact that women still today are struggling in various industries. We just finished, with the writers union strike. Now SAG is still in negotiations with their strike. You have other industries now thinking of striking, but focusing just on entertainment, women have still struggled to get a fair shake. And that's why I wanted you here to share with people, the challenges that women, and you're also including non-binary people, that they face in this industry. Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Sure. Um, as many industries in this country, uh, the music industry especially, has been dominated by men in the past historically. Just a little bit of fun fact. When I first started, I'm often and still the only woman who are in the room as a brass player. Um, for many years, I just assumed that's just the norm, and we all have to struggle a lot harder to get to where we want to be, just simply being who we are.
Right.
I'm still currently the only Asian female brass player.
And when did you start?
I started more than 20 years ago in this
and,
industry.
and you're still the only.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's more than paying your dues.
That's for sure, for sure. But things are changing, and
Okay.
that's why we feel like we have started a movement, and people are paying attention to this problem. It is a problem, and people do want to change, and people are encouraged to talk about this issue more publicly, which is what we're here for, and this is what exactly we're trying to amplify, to bring attention to something so we can all tackle together as a community. That's what we're doing.
Would you say that this is just a product of an old boys network? Or would you just say that a lot of women are intimidated in trying to be a part of these orchestras on Broadways? Which one?
I do think it's a pipeline issue. So a little bit of
Mm.
both in that there's a false narrative going on where people will say, "Oh, the women just don't exist. The non-binary people just don't exist. Those players aren't ready, or those orchestrators, those writers don't exist." And that's not true. And so our directory is providing visibility to those who are already at that level and ready to serve in these roles. But one of my favorite program at Maestra is our mentorship program.
Mm-hmm.
And that exists because we've realized that there's also a problem with the amount of women and non-binary people willing to enter the industry because they see this huge wall and barrier to entry. The local 802, which is the musicians union in
And
New
that's a
York
very
City,
strong union.
very strong union.
It's the biggest musicians union in the country.
Yes,
Mhm.
and we're working with them. We're in no way against them, but they publicly stated that their membership of Broadway players, I believe, is 22% female as of 2021.
Correct.
And so we can't just say we want 50% female and non-binary and 50% male because that's not representative of their membership currently. But we have seen a big change in representation. We've done a lot of data gathering in the last year as well, and even up from between 2010 and 2020, 75% of Broadway pits were entirely male, and last year there were 0 that were entirely male.
Just a little sidebar. On 131st Street in Harlem, between Lenox and 7th Avenue, also known as Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard Jr., is the New Amsterdam Musical Association. It celebrated last year its centennial in the building that they're located in. But the organization started 1904 organizing, became established in 1905, moved to Harlem in 1906. The reason I bring it up, they started having women members as early as 1909.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I was immediately intrigued. They've also had 3 women as president of the association. And in the beginning, when they had the first 2 women as presidents of the associations, they were not a part of Local 802 because of racism in America. Eventually, it folded. It was a union in the beginning, and then it turned into this association. But I thought that was very forward thinking at that time in Harlem, that there was this union of black players, and they allowed women to be members as early as 1909. And so to hear about the troubles and that only 22% of women who perform on Broadway in these musical pits is just astounding to me, when there was a tradition to automatically bring women into the fold. What do you think about that?
We have a lot of work to do.
Gotcha.
We have a lot of work to do still.
I think this is sort of where what you brought up earlier of somewhat of a boys' club exists, because even if it's unintentional, the contractors, who are almost entirely male, we've seen the first 0 to 3 contractors female in the last 3 years. I think we've just started seeing female contractors, but the contractors hire all the pit musicians. And so specifically in that field, we've just seen people who hire their friends and great players, but it produces a sort of homogeny that it's hard to erase in a very immediate way.
Wow. Now, you also have another program called Rise. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Is that the mentoring program?
No, that is not. This is Rise Theater Directory. It's our newest initiative. It's being sponsored by the Miranda Family Foundation. And we
Really?
we just launched in June.
Okay.
RISE is an abbreviation for representation, inclusion, and support for employment.
Okay.
So this initiative is based on the same idea of the Maestra directory,
Okay.
but the directory for RISE is for all backstage capacity. So it's bigger and broader.
Oh.
So we're open it up, not just for the not just for the musicians now. We're serving the whole capacity of musical theater.
So, are you saying also in musical theater there's a problem with backstage as well?
Oh, yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, the musicians are a microcosm
Yes.
of the problem. Within stagehands, electricians, cost designers, all over, every designer.
Yes.
The first female sound designer just won the Tony in the last 5 years, I think, for Hadestown. But prior to that, and still now, it's a very small number. So it is in all parts of the industry. This is producers, directors. It's the Rise directory is for anyone who works in the industry except actors who are forward facing.
Right.
So I'm a little taken back because there've been a lot of, in spite of COVID, there've been a lot of wonderful productions with mixed casts, many who have won Tony Awards, and you're saying there is a problem backstage.
Yes. Yes. External facing, it's in my mind, it's easier to put on a show when you have when people's eyes are on stage. You see representation, you see this looks great. We are very inclusive. We're trying to create this beautiful, harmonious community. But if you really go backstage, you will see that's not usually the case. It is definitely not the case. And we are trying to tackle that. We're trying to make it known that this is a problem that we have, and we would like to
Rectify.
exactly.
I think we have a video.
Yes, we do.
And I'm going to ask our engineers to play that for us so we can learn a little bit more.
It's almost impossible to break in.
The gatekeepers have not changed in the last 70 years.
There's not as much focus for equity, diversity, and inclusion behind the scenes.
What do producers look like? What do directors look like?
I'm the only female Asian brass player on Broadway.
The two people who are in charge in the building are two Black females, and I've never seen that before.
One of the things that this database is really trying to do is rob folks of the lie that we don't exist in these other places.
Who do I bring into the room with me because I have hiring power? That affects change for generations.
It is changing, and I want to be part of the change.
We have stories, we have things we want to say, we have our own taste.
We can be that reflection if we want it to be.
I've done everything from finance to PAs to props, you name it, I've done it.
There's a really talented carpenter, and he's right there, and he's on the database, and you can hire him right now.
We are all in this together.
We have to actively work as a community to teach each other. Only together will we rise.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I asked for some video yesterday, and your team was able to quickly put something together for us. I didn't realize that. I thought Rise was affiliated with Maestra, but I didn't realize it was a separate program altogether, and that you're dealing with two fronts at the same time. What do you think might make all of this change? Because we need diversity. We're in the most diverse city in America, and we should have it represent the population that's here. And it's about jobs in the end, and introducing, people and developing a generation of folks in the entertainment, Broadway, theater community. What do you think we should be doing?
Just a quick clarification, really quick. Rise Theater, it is part of the Maestra programming. So Maestra is the big umbrella, and then so Rise is part of our programming underneath it.
Okay.
But to answer your question, the way to do it is to now, I think any problem, just like when we identify a problem, we have to first admit that there is a problem.
I agree with that.
Once we know that there's a problem, once that we have acknowledgement from everybody to say, yes, I recognize that, we recognize that. So now how do we tackle this together to create buy-in, to convince people, and to use data to prove, yes, there is a problem here. Let's all sit down together and how do we utilize this beautiful city, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many amazing, talented
Mm-hmm.
artists
Mm-hmm.
in this town. There's no reason why people shouldn't be working together.
Right.
So that's where we start. And from there, like what Carrie was talking about, to create this mentorship program, to have people who are already in the industry to help create the pipeline to make sure people are there ways to get there.
Gotcha.
That's exactly what we're trying to do here.
Is there anything that the public can do?
Absolutely. I mean, utilizing our resources, if you are part of the industry, like the directories, is a fabulous way to contribute. But if you're just a member of the public, I mean, just sharing, visibility is everything. So Maestra's 3 pillars are support, visibility, and community.
Okay.
And so sharing our resources, growing our community, showing up for us, whether it be at our public-facing events. We have a lot of partners, like we were just at the Broadway Flea the other day, interacting with us, learning more, and being able to kind of share the facts, like we said, because so much of what Judy says is being able to tell people that there is a problem and being able to back that up with the facts. And I think educating the community and the larger theater fan base abroad is a huge part of our mission as well.
I think of what Lin-Manuel did this year for the Tony Awards. He brought it up to Washington Heights.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people may not realize the theater that he brought it to was originally owned by Reverend Ike. Reverend Ike was a television personality, a black minister who would have this ministry on television, and he would tell people, we all used to laugh all the time, send me that $5 for your prayer cloth, and you will get a blessing for that. And he would have all of these different products to say to people, I will bless these products to give you a better quality of life. You're going to have all of your problems solved. And people used to laugh all the time. But watch Reverend Ike on television. He paid for that theater.
Wow.
He restored that theater. Okay? And when I first went to that theater a few years ago, I was absolutely, positively floored. It was a true movie palace and gilded. And you saw how beautiful
Yes.
it really, really was. And then when it got converted, okay, and they tried different types of programming there. But when Lin-Manuel brought that Tony Award ceremony to Washington Heights, it was amazing because I think the Broadway community didn't know about that theater. And they didn't know how it's grand, it's spacious. I mean, it goes deep. And so therefore, all of these people realized, wow, this gem is uptown. And he was trying to say, if you want to get folks from other parts of the city to come and buy those Broadway tickets, you need to connect with them. And it sounds like that's what you're trying to do with Maestra. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. We're definitely trying to create buy-in. We're definitely trying to create that community and trying to reach and branch out to let people know that we exist. To answer your question earlier, what can the public do to help with this? I would say whenever people say, I'm looking for a musician, I am looking for a carpenter, I'm looking for a stage manager, I'm looking for ... in the even it can be beyond Broadway industry, it can be off Broadway, it can be regional theater, anything that you can think of. Direct people to these directories. Tell people to sign up because this is the hub. This is where we can find these beautiful, talented, diverse pool of talents, of artists who are eager, ready, and they will give their all to work.
Have you ever thought of partnering with the Garment District, which is also under siege? I've been a supporter of the Garment District, and I'll never forget the first time I finally got invited to one of the factories in the garment district, I got dressed up. I was like, oh, this is exciting. And I went, and they showed me around. And one of the reasons they were fighting the city who wants to displace them and push them into Brooklyn, they said one of our biggest clienteles is Broadway. Who is going to be there for the gloves that they may need for a stage production? Who's going to be there if they need special costuming for a Broadway production? If you send us all the way out there, how are we going to connect? And I'm wondering, have you ever thought about partnering with them? Because they are under siege too, because people don't understand how these industries connect and relate to one another.
We're constantly adding new jobs and features to the Rise directory, and I think the Broadway cleaners are just as much a part of it as anything. I mean, we just added, I know this is different, but like intimacy directors, acrobatics directors, and there are people in so many props masters. There are people in so many different areas, and I agree with you. I recently saw the documentary that was done about the COVID and how it hit the industry, and they tackled the cleaners and what happened there when it was an example of how all of the jobs were suddenly gone, and people who had been working like 24 hours a day, these cleaners, at first people weren't coming in to work, and so it was just like one person doing all of the work, but then it completely shut down for years. But all I mean by that is they are just as much a part of the industry as everyone, just as much as the security guards, just as much as anyone who works in that theater, and they all belong.
Yes, we have over 160 categories in our directory. So we're trying to think of every possible jobs there are in the backstage capacity. We do partner with we're trying to partner with all the unions, and we are reaching out to as many partnerships as possible to create this community. The bigger we are, the bigger the voices we have collectively. So we're definitely expanding.
But I also think there's been a failure when it comes to educating, the populace, where everyone looks at the final product, the finished work, but they don't know what it took to build that.
Yes.
And it's all these people, and it's all these layers.
Yes.
And these are jobs, creative jobs. And these creative jobs take care of families, take care of children, and we don't seem to know what it takes to build a production. I did a small film many years ago, and it was funny because my mother was the craft services. My mother was an excellent cook, and she prepared this spread. And by the way, she was legally blind.
Oh my!
She was legally blind. And my mother could still burn a kitchen.
Wow.
And so when the food got delivered, the crew said, "Your mother made this?" I said, "Yes, my mother cooked this." And they tore into the food. And I'm like, stop. You're eating up all the food. Wait. But the point I'm trying to make was I was doing this film experience. It wasn't the greatest. But I learned so much that even a bad film takes a lot of effort, a lot of people. And I think that somehow people don't know all that's involved. They think, oh, that's not my concern. I'm not interested in that. But that's not what it's about. It's about understanding this process. Wouldn't you agree that understanding a process as involved as Broadway is necessary for people to appreciate?
For sure. I think when people go see shows, they see the glamorous stage. They see the beautiful cast on stage. They see shiny sets, all of the things that's visually there. But anything behind the black curtain, people don't get to see it. People don't realize how many hundreds of people behind the stage working hours a day, many days, years, weeks, months to make this happen. And that's why I think it's so important for us to make sure that we highlight these people. Because without these people, there's no Broadway.
Yes.
Without these people, there are no shows.
Right.
There are no performances.
Mm-hmm.
You know, similarly to the strike of writers' strike, people don't see how important these jobs are behind the stage to sustain what people, the audiences, see out
Right.
there every
Right.
single day, every show. And it's all intertwined together. It's
Yes.
a beautiful web of things, but everything is connected in order to support that system.
Okay. Well, ladies, I think this was a really great chat where we got to talk about Maestra and what you do. And I'm hoping that, first of all, give us your website address.
Yes. So we are at maestramusic.org,
Okay.
just as it spells Maestra music.org.
Okay.
So if you go to our website, you can see all the information and all the programmings that we're offering. Rice Theater Directory is also part of that. But the Rice Theater also has its own website.
Okay.
Which is risetheater.org. And theater there is spelled with an R-E, not an E-R.
Okay. Okay. So now we know how to reach you and also to at least get to the Rise directory. But you have other directories as well, correct?
Yes, the Maestra directory itself. It serves mainly musicians.
Okay.
And the Rise directory serves everyone else.
Everyone in the backstage.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Also, on the Rise website, because it includes Maestra members, you can search and filter by people who are in the Maestra directory as well, and it can link you to that back to that directory.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the point is the public can, whenever they're having a wedding or a bat mitzvah or a birthday party or an anniversary, they could use that directory and hire musicians.
They can.
Or if they're a student doing a production,
Yes.
they can also get people and have them help as stagehands or helping with filming or anything else that they might possibly need, or photography for what they're trying to do, correct?
Yes.
For the most part.
For the most part, yes. Our focus is definitely more musical theater.
Okay.
But I will be honest, as a musician who is I'm part of the directory on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
If someone called me and said, I need a French horn player to play a job but it's outside of the musical theater realm, I will say yes. So that's a bonus. If you find us on the website, on the directory for other part of the jobs, like anything we can do, all the musicians, most of the artists are very versatile. We can do a lot of things. But the focus that we're here, just for the purpose of our website and our organization, is definitely musical theater focused.
Okay. So one last question before we end. If your focus is on musical theater, then how do we influence those who are producing? Because if it's a small network and you're only going with your family and friends, then how do you do that? How do you influence them?
Well, the producers are the one. They often are the ones who have the hiring powers. So it's crucial for the producers, in fact, to make sure that they look at this directory, because that would change their hiring practice.
Gotcha. All right.
And I'll also just say, from a consumer standpoint, money talks. And if you want to show people that you want to support shows written by female and non-binary writers, by writers of color, go support the shows that are out there now. Make them extend, make them sell out. And those are the things that the producers will look at and say, we need more of that.
Okay. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. I had a great time chatting with both of you, and I look forward to keeping up with Maestra.
Thank you so much for inviting us. We had the best time.
Okay. Thank you so very, very much. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Thank you.